We can get started. Thanks, Roxy, for setting us some theme music. I appreciate. Um, so, hooray! Welcome to here, everybody. I'm so grateful you all are with us this morning and early afternoon as we go through the process of practicing transparency. It's one of the interesting things about being a nonprofit of this sort is that we want to be as inclusive of the community as we can, while also not having 10 million cooks in every kitchen. And the balance of that is kind of weird and awkward sometimes. So we're working on better transparency overall, and this is part of it. This is something that we've wanted to do since last year, and with COVID happening, we kind of got derailed from it, but ideally it's something that we can do on the reg somewhat. Most of you know me. My name's Arlene. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the executive director of Seattle Flow Arts Collective, which is why you're here, to learn about all of what we're up to. Really, really appreciate you all being here this morning. It means a lot. And we are doing all of this for the purpose of building community. And that's all of you. So it's really important to us that we know how you're feeling about things, and that you have the opportunity to provide feedback and ask questions and all of that stuff. So thank you for being here. I want to also thank our team of people who is helping manage technical stuff for this. It seems so overwhelming to do this, and I've been so nervous for like 3 weeks. So I really appreciate you all being here. That like helping out behind the scenes has been really, really wonderful. Thank you. I also want to remind people that Spin Jam is happening at 3 o'clock after the meeting today. We'll wrap up by 2, and then that will just be an opportunity for y'all to have some just general hang time and make shapes and move your body after sitting down listening to people talk for a couple hours. So I just want to set some expectations for how things are going to operate here today. We are asking people to stay on mute if you're not presenting. That will help just like keep audio clear and make things a little bit cleaner for everyone. We will be having, there are a few moments that are scheduled in our agenda here for people to be able to ask questions. And you're also more than welcome to put questions in the chat and comments as we go. And if it's something that like makes sense for the presenter to respond to in that moment, they can. And also, if not, we're going to be collecting questions and everything, either for the end or for other times, depending on what you're asking about and what makes sense. I want to put a link here for you all in the chat. This is our public meeting agenda. So if any of you want to follow along, and thanks, Desert. If any of you want to follow along there, you are welcome to do so, and then you will know what's coming up. We'll take a couple breaks when it makes sense to you, and yeah, I think that's like the main stuff. I wanted to start with something kind of fun though, that I think we'll reveal in a few moments, but this is a link to, oh, just tuck. That's not what I meant. This is a link to a word cloud generator that y'all can use. And if you go ahead and click that, it'll take you to our word generator, and you can put in what props you play with. That's our icebreaker for today. I'm curious to see like what we capture there, and it'll make it into a fancy word cloud. And as you do that, we can pull that up later and see where people are at, which is exciting. And I'm going to drop one more link in the chat. I'm like link lady right now. This is our feedback form for the event today. So getting feedback really helps. That's why we're doing this. We really, really want to know what you guys think about what we're up to, or about what you all think about what we're up to. So if it helps, one idea I had is you could pull it up during the session, and then you would have it and you could take notes as you go, so you don't have to remember stuff at the end. Follow your heart, do what you want, but that is an idea that you can do. Okay, and this picture of Tristan is just adorable, and David Horvitz took almost every photo in here, and thank you, David, for everything that you do for our community. BJ, would you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. Okay, this is a little bit just about who I am. I know I said my name and my pronouns and my role. What's an executive director? That's a great question. Basically, the executive director kind of makes sure that the board is on track for setting the vision of the organization, and also make sure that the actions that the board is taking and that the other volunteers and staff in the organization are taking are in line with our mission and our values. It basically means that my finger is in every pie, which is kind of cool. And yeah, I'm kind of the main person responsible for building community and relationships and all of that. Okay, thanks, Connor, for letting me know that. That's not that helpful, is it? Okay, can someone who has access to that document help change the permissions, please?
I'll take a look at it.
Thank you. So just a little bit about me personally, though. I started organizing FlowShop in 2016. FlowShop was founded in 2015 by Wendy, and then I did it with her for a while, and then ended up taking over when she went on to do other art. But I started spinning poi in 2012, and my first time at Spin Jam was like 7 years ago, almost exactly, like 7 years and 2 months. So I've been around for a while. In my previous life, I was a health coach and a life coach. I have a psychology background, and I currently run my own house cleaning business, Fairy Organized. I'm a house fairy. That's just a little bit about me. This role is new and scary, and I am figuring a lot of it out as I go. This is why we want as much feedback as possible. All of us are figuring this out as we go to some extent, which is the secret. Nobody actually knows what they're doing. Don't let anyone tell you they do. It's a lie. You're most likely to see me with hoops, but again, poi were my very first love. And that's me. Next slide, please, BJ. Yeah, so a little bit about CFAC. Also, just so you know, it's not going to be me talking to you the whole time. You'll get other faces. So we are a 501c3 nonprofit flow arts organization. I originally had this as Flow Me organization intentionally, because this is all Flow Me's. The person who built our website is Tony. He is a flow artist who helps out at Pacific Fire Gathering. All of us have been involved and active in the community for a long time. So I'm leery of having I don't want us to be an entity that's seen as kind of like coming down from above. This is really something that has grown from within, which I think is really cool and special. We were founded last January 2nd, by BJ Berg and myself are the co-founders of the org. And BJ was instrumental in getting this all going. A little bit about the why. So, Seattle has had a really vibrant flow art community for a long time, frankly, for over a decade, well over a decade. Different fire troops and fire jams. Spin Jam has been going on for over a decade. FlowShop is now in its like 5th or 6th year. So we've been really vibrant for a long time and really big, but there hasn't really been a great central organizational hub. And it's kind of limited because it's all been just like individual people doing this thing. It's been limited in the ways that it can grow. And I started running into that with FlowShop, where I wanted to produce shows. I wanted to have the ability to pay instructors more. And those things started to become really challenging when the only revenue source we have is other flow artists. So having a nonprofit just really gives us the opportunity to have access to way more resources than we would otherwise have. It gives us more validity, right? So if we want to come to the fire department, for example, and try to influence their fire performance codes for the city of Seattle, that's much more likely to happen if we can say that we're a nonprofit. Forming a nonprofit is a ton of labor, and it takes a lot of organization. So it makes us look like adults. And we are, which is great. We're just adults who also like to have fun and don't think that fun is only for children. Let's see. And yeah, we really hope to set an example for the broader flow arts community. I think that around the nation, this is a really exciting art form that hasn't really had the chance to develop and mature quite yet. And so hopefully this is something that can inspire other people to kind of start building bigger castles in the sky, or better foundations for our castles in the sky, maybe would be the way to put that. And yeah, I think those are the things that I wanted to say about that part. Do you want to go to the next slide, BJ? And take over?
Yeah, hi, my name is BJ. My pronouns are they, them. I am the chair of the board of directors of Seattle Flow Arts Collective. What that means is I have to run the board meetings. I'm in charge of the taxes, insurance, and all those other things. But what I want to talk to you about is why we have a board of directors. We have a board of directors to help steer this org and this ship to make sure we're doing what we set out to do. And later we're going to talk about what our mission is as an org, which is kind of the whole cornerstone of how we exist and why. But for now, we're going to go through and introduce the board of directors one by one. I will say their name, and then they will say a little blurb about themselves. And after that, I want to briefly go over sort of the structure of the org. We have a bunch of different committees, and they do various things. And we'll get into that in a second. So I will introduce myself first. I am BJ, they, them, president/chair of the board. I've been spinning Poi for about 4 years. I've been in Seattle for over a decade. I really like Poi. It helps me express myself, feel my body, develop my self-expression and coordination and other things. And I'm really excited to be here and help build this thing. I noticed right away when joining this community that there were no studios for flow arts. There were hardly even workshops. And if you look at yoga or all these other art forms, there's so much stuff, right? So I'm super excited to help spread this to lots of people, to the people who watch me spin, to young people, old people, everyone. And I'm also chair of the governance committee, which kind of makes sense, and chair of the board. So I'll talk a little bit more about what that means later. So I would like to hand it off to Kat.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kat Plimpton. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the board secretary and the development/fundraising committee chair. I spin Boogang, Poi, Serpent staff, and contact staff. I'm a member of Emerald City Dragons, and I bring a good amount of nonprofit experience to the board, and glad you all are here.
All right, Z.
Good morning. I'm Z, they, them. Been in the flow arts community for about 7 years now, and I co-lead Emerald City Dragons, and I'm on the sign crew for Pacific Fire Gathering. And I am stoked to be here because pretty much all my favorite humans are in this chat right now. So yay.
All right, next up is Desert.
Hey everybody, my name is Desert Black, he, him. I'm CFAC Vice President and the Fire Committee Chair. I started spinning about 12 years ago, first on my own for a year, and then I joined up with Ignition Fire Troop, and I am currently an inactive retired member and a current member of Emerald City Dragons. I was an organizer for Spinnern for about 7 years. I've run the grounds crew for PFG for about 7 years. I'm also the former fire safety director for FAI, and I'm an FAI certified fire safety instructor. In 2016, I, along with many others, worked with the Seattle Fire Code Advisory Board to negotiate and change the fire code as it relates to fire performance in the city. So I bring a lot of safety knowledge and some knowledge of how the city operates and creates code. And yeah, I am so excited about all this.
Thank you, Desert. Next up is Zach.
Hey, I'm Zach Mallon. Pronouns are he, him. I am the CFAC treasurer, and I also am a director over at PFG, Pacific Fire Gathering. I picked up my first poi in 2003 and actively started spinning sometime around 2006. And both of those stories are incredibly unsafe because there weren't resources around at the time to to have safe props. And so organizations that are good hubs like this for introducing people to flow arts in ways that don't involve socks with rocks in them is really valuable. And so, yeah.
Thanks, Zach. Next up is Tuck.
Hi, my name's Tuck. Government name is Justin Colseth. I am a member of the board of directors. I work with the governance committee and the programs committee currently, although I'm interested in doing more work. I am an attorney by trade, and so I come to the board with a fair amount of legal experience, and that is the main thing I can offer to the board. I've been flowing since 2018. So I'm a little bit newer to the flow arts, but I am really excited and happy to be a part of this community, and definitely echo the comment that, you know, all my favorite people are in this room. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, we have introduced everyone on the board. There are lots of other people involved in Seattle Flow Arts Collective because we have lots of committees. As you heard mentioned, there's finance, program, marketing. Oh no, I'm starting to forget them. We're going to talk about all of them in different levels of detail, depending on how interesting it is. You're going to hear a lot about programming. You're going to hear a lot about fire, and less about governance, finance, marketing, and development. That's the other one. So we're going to carry on, and we're going to start off and go over our mission, vision, and values, and how we came up with those and what it means for our org. All right.
Yeah. Go for, are you doing this one?
Sure. So our mission as an org is to promote well-being and inspire play by sharing and advancing the flow arts in the Puget Sound region. So in other words, we're trying to spread fun and play among everyone by giving people poi and other flow arts tools. Primarily, Seattle Flow Arts Collective is focused on Puget Sound region. Most of our events have been in Seattle proper, but there's nothing preventing that from being different, except COVID. So we're really focused on the local region, but we also have people not in Seattle proper who also are really interested, invested in growing this community. Why are we doing this? To inspire play, but also to promote well-being. I think most people who have been involved in flow arts for a while can have their own personal story about how it's made their life somewhat better in some way. And I would love to make everyone's life better. If flow art is all it takes, that would be great. I think there's more, but this is a great start. It's certainly made my life a lot nicer. So we're here to spread that. And there's lots of different ways of doing that. We've started digging into some of them. But at the end of the day, everything we do needs to tie back to this mission. You know, Flow Shop, we promote well-being and inspire play because we are facilitating you learning things. Same thing for Spin Jam or any of the other programs we want to do. It's really about inspiring play and helping people be the best versions of themselves. And we want to make as many shapes as possible. I personally want to give as many poi away as possible, but that's a separate mission. Anything you want to add, Arlene, to that? Okay.
No, I think that's great, but I also love shapes.
Love shapes too. Vision, do you want to do this one or am I doing it?
I can do.
Okay.
Yeah, I know I know this is like the dreaded moment where someone reads the text on the screen, but I really love our vision. The vision is kind of an expansion of the mission. So we envision a community where self-exploration, interpersonal connection with others, and collective and individual growth are the result of shared practice and play. We are committed to building a world where flow arts empowers people of all backgrounds, abilities, and body types to express themselves creatively and to access the benefits of movement meditation. We provide a space where movement meditation or moments of clarity and inspiration may result in new routes to individual and collective transformation. There's some stuff that in here that I think is big for a lot of us. You know, BJ is talking about the ways that flow arts for many of us has really impacted our lives in incredibly positive ways. Self-empowerment to me is such a huge part of that. And as I mentioned, I am a former life coach. So for me, finding pathways to increase self-efficacy, to increase self-empowerment, to help people realize that if you see a thing and it looks like something you want to do, you can do it. The thing that you need to do is try. And if it's hard, it's just practice, right? The difference between the novice and the expert is experience. And so that's something that we really want to help spread out here. And I think that our mission and our vision really encapsulate that. Before we move on to our next slide, will you all go back? Okay, so this is the part that I was nervous about, so bear with me. I want to share my screen so that y'all can see the word generator that you created. Look at that, that's our word cloud. You can't see it?
Okay.
Now you can? Okay, that's great. This is our word cloud. These are our props. I love that fingers is one of the props. Whoever wrote that, that's great. What a good prop. Yeah, look at all of the variation here. I just want to point this out. I love what all we all can get into. This is so fun. I love props and toys. I want to, okay, now I'm going to stop share. And BJ's gonna restart, and I am going to see if this goes to the next slide that I have another question for you all about. Oh dear. Oh dear. Okay, it deleted my slides. So we're not gonna do that. We'll do that maybe another time. But I was going to have you all enter your values that you identify with for the flow community. If you want to put those in the chat, that would be great. You can see the core values that we talked about up here on the screen. But I'm curious what values you all think identify the flow art community, whether that's in Seattle or broader than that. Love, oh my gosh, Roxy, good one. But yeah, you can see what we have up here. Inclusivity, play, obviously, integrity, respect, community, and my super favorite one, failure. Like we said, no one knows what they're doing, right? All of this stuff is hard, and the ways that we learn and get better and move through stages of self-empowerment is by trying new things. It doesn't work, and then we do it again, but better. So I think we wanted to make sure that we captured the growth element and the core values. And I love what you all are putting in the chat here, Zoe, embracing failure as a positive, mindfulness, growth, inspiration from Livy, support. Lots of support. I like that. Learning, growing. Yes, you can all put in those answers forever. I always want to know what your values are. Cool. And I love that photo. Back member spinner, y'all. Con, yeah, inspiring others to better themselves. And snacks. Can't ever forget snacks. Thank you, Richard. I love snacks. So let's move to the next slide. Oh, and actually there's one unlisted value that I wanted to say, which is paying artists. We don't have that listed as a core value because it's not as like fancy or whatever. But sorry, I'm multitasking. But we really believe in paying artists. That's like been one of FlowShop's main things. Our goal is always to kind of focus or find a balance between inclusivity and making all of our events be accessible, financially is in particular, also obviously like physically accessible to people. That's something that I think we're still working on that comes up in this next slide. But I think that we really want to make sure that we're both providing financially accessible experiences while also prioritizing paying artists, because frankly, art forms can't grow if artists can't get paid. So pay your people. It's good. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about diversity and equity and inclusion, which has been a topic that's up for a lot of people this year, especially, or this past year since June especially. And I think that we all know it's mostly white people in this room. I love this photo that someone took at FlowShop back in the before times while we were still meeting in person. It's beautiful and it brings me so much joy. And also every time I look at it, it's a reminder that we still have a lot of work to do in this space. I think that when we look at the broad picture here, we're looking at whiteness being a layer of like each of us individually, in the broader Seattle community and in the broader Flow Art community and our local Flow Art community. So there's a lot of work that there is to do, in our opinion, to make these spaces more equitable and to really ask ourselves the question, why are people of color not coming to these events? And how do we fix that? How do we make these spaces more welcoming and more inclusive for all people to have this kind of joy and pleasure and the experiences that we all value so deeply. Would you go to the next slide? Oh, okay. This one I'm not going to read. I believe in your ability to read these words, but this is an excerpt from our Code of Conduct, which is something that Rachel Drake is going to be talking about next, which is great. I actually really love our Code of Conduct. But I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things that we're doing. I do think to highlight some of the areas that we're doing really well in diversity. I think as far as like gender expression goes, when it comes to sexual orientation, there's a lot of diversity that we have in that department. It is often that I find myself in a meeting as the only cisgendered person, which I think is just really, really cool. And yeah, I think we're doing really great in certain areas. But obviously race and honestly disability too, I think are areas that we have a lot of improvement to work on still. FlowShop has been focusing as much as we can on hiring more Black artists, more Indigenous artists. It's a place where it's kind of easier because I can just make a decision to contact someone, and currently anywhere in the country, but to invite them to teach, right? So it's easy to be inclusive in that way. It's much harder to build a full inclusive community. That takes a lot more nuance and effort, and frankly has been really challenging with COVID. It's something that is, I think, a challenge in general. And then when you're not able to go out and meet new people in person, that has made that really difficult. So, which isn't an excuse for us to have an all-white board either. So just want to point that stuff out. Some of the things we're doing is, as board members and myself as the executive director, is really taking part in diversity panels whenever possible. There are a number of these that are being put out by Flow Arts Institute, by BIPOC Flow Artistry, which is another, I think they're based on like the East Coast or Midwest or something. And they had a really great panel on racism in the flow arts community at the end of January. There's some plans in the works to have some people come and do some presentations and informational sessions about this stuff for our community in Seattle that I'm really excited about. And there's also some national places that I wanted to highlight, actually. If any of you know Hoodie from Chicago, he has created a Facebook group and also a Discord channel called an anti-racism workspace for flow artists. And they're doing a book reading, a book club of Ibram Kendi's titled book that I can't think of the name of right now because, oh, he's in Oregon? What is it? How to be an anti-racist. Yeah, Hoodie is wonderful. I agree. So if that's, oh, it said the book name in my notes, guys. Okay. We're doing great. But yeah, so that's something that is an option that I would really encourage people to do. And a lot of our future programming as CFAC is really going to be trying to focus on BIPOC neighborhoods and communities within Seattle and bringing more of this magic to those spaces, which is something that's really exciting, right? Getting to reach out to those under-circused communities. Yeah, and yeah, I just want to reiterate, I think hopefully it's obvious, but you know, we really are wanting to increase the diversity that we have in our leadership, especially because I think that it would make us a better place. It's, you know, when you have more diversity, there's more ideas coming to the table, there's more experiences, and the entire organization is much, much stronger if we have a broader base of people that are in our space. That was a lot of talk about that stuff. And we're going to go from that to transition into talking a little bit about our code of conduct and a program that we're developing, in the process of developing, to help address community harm, which could include things like racism or ableism or things of that nature. So we wanted to give people opportunities to interact with that kind of stuff. So I'm going to hand it over to Rachel if she is ready to talk about that stuff for a little bit. And then we'll have questions for everything that we've done so far once Rachel is done, just as a heads up.
Great, thank you so much, Arlene. I'm super excited to be here. Just want to take a minute to introduce myself. I'm very, very pleased and excited to be part of the Seattle Flow Arts Collective, and thank you for the invitation to participate. Arlene reached out to me last year, as I have an extensive background in nonprofit, not only development, but management, as well as board experience. So I actually served on my first nonprofit board in 1990. I was an infant at the time, so we're not going to talk about that. And have served in a lot of different capacities, including being a director, as well as artistic director and managing director for various nonprofits, both in the arts as well as education, and also just recently helped start Consent Academy, which is a 501c3 here in Seattle that focuses on consent education. And we started up in 2016. I'm still serving as an educator for that organization, but also doing more consulting and coaching. And that's my day gig, as well as working towards my degree in applied behavioral science. So I've got a lot going on, and I'm really glad to be working with CFAC, and published a book last year called The Consent Primer, and am working on a book called Transformative Accountability, Roadmap to Lasting Change. I also come from a circus and flow arts family. So I started doing flow arts very young. I like to say my first set of poi was 2 buckets of water and some rope. So I kind of lost, I did whips and all kinds of fun stuff, and then kind of just lost connection to that until about 15 years ago, my son wanted to start learning how to breathe fire, and he had no idea about the circus background in our family. And I was like, all right, let's do this. So really got to reconnect about 15 years ago with the Flow community, and just recently started to learn how to hula hoop. So I'm really excited about that. And that's been my fun and reconnection to my body and health. So we're going to be talking a little bit about the COC, DTF, SMRT, and WTF. So next slide, please. So WTF, what the flow? What is all this about? When we started working on the possibility of a code of conduct, Arlene was asking like, okay, how do we do this? As I've started up several nonprofits, one of the things that I found to be the most effective way in working with community organizations is to make sure that your goals are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. So those are SMART goals. And we're able to do this by creating a disappearing task force. So the DTF, what it is a time-bound committee that you put together with as much diversity as possible. So many nonprofits get hung up, or organizations get hung up on just having the board constantly driving everything. And the idea between creating a DTF is that it's for a very limited amount of time. So people are more comfortable signing up specifically to do a disappearing task force, because it's structured like you would prepare for an event or a performance. So you kind of back figure the time that it's going to take to put together the project that you're working on. And in this case, it was the code of conduct. And then you select people based on their skills, experience, or talent. So in setting up a diversified disappearing task force, one of the things that we looked for is like, okay, who has experience in different aspects of the community? Who has different skill sets in potentially human resources? Who is a good writer? And the concept is that everybody shows up and contributes their best self. So the skills that they have, things that they enjoy doing. And then we also included people that may not necessarily have time to do a lot of work, but it's good for them to have the knowledge, because then you can create another disappearing task force to go on and do another thing. So we came together with a bunch of ideas and bounced off of the established mission statement, the core values, and other things that had already been created by the board. We went out and gathered and collected different concepts from organizations that we respected that were already in the works and had already established this stuff. So we kind of springboarded off of those ideas and then had working sessions collectively together as well as individually, and then collaboratively went through and edited the code of conduct. It worked really, really well. We had a great core of superheroes that I want to give a shout out to. So Arlene Smith, Russell Pack, Zoe Sugart, David Horvitz, Drew Bowen, Maggie Klee, Louise Castle, and BJ Berg. So props up to all of them. So if you want to be a superhero, there's going to be more disappearing task force created. Again, remember, it is very time bound. So you decide what you want to be doing, what your end product is, and then you back figure and schedule it just like you would a production or an event. You have time markers throughout the weeks that you're working on it. So it's not this continuous like, oh, we're going to work on this until we get it done. So it's strike while the iron's hot, very efficient, get it done and get out of there. Arlene, was there anything else that you wanted to add to that before I move on?
No, well, just this one thing I just stuck in the chat is that our code of conduct is recently posted on the Seattle Tech Spinners Facebook group under files. Sorry, I have this like light in the middle of my face. But if you go to the Facebook group and click on more on like the top navigation bar, files will be one of the options and you can read through it there. So for anyone who wants to reference that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Arlene. So the next disappearing task force that we're going to be putting together is for the CARE program. Next slide, please. So the CARE program stands for Community Accountability, Reintegration, and Education, and it spells out CARE. So this is rooted in a process that I've created called transformative accountability, and it is rooted in somewhat restorative justice and transformative justice practices, which I'll talk about in just a little bit. This is a program that I've started working on about 15 years ago in response to community and harm that was in my own family, because I feel that people are all worthy of redemption and that people can be held accountable and educated, and once you know better, you can do better, right? So it's all about reintegration instead of shunning people or canceling them. This process, the transformative accountability process, it's community-based and it's collaborative, because a lot of times when harm happens within a community, there's no legal ramification, nothing, no laws have been broken, but harm has still been done. And trauma can be caused not only to the person that experienced the harm, but also to bystanders and the community as well. So it's really a 360-degree process, wherein the person that caused the harm is addressed, the person that experienced the harm is supported and invited to examine what happened to them and how they can learn from it or help prevent it from happening in the future. But the big piece is that the community and the leadership is also held accountable as well. As a community, when you come together, we're all responsible for each other. And as leadership, in my experience, being responsible for what happens on these events or these spaces that we create is extremely important. So it also has space for the community and the leadership in the organization to examine, all right, what went wrong here? How did this harm happen on our watch? What do we need to address or put in place so there's more support? Or do we need to make adjustments to how we're doing things? So this process is also extremely trauma informed. So people that cause harm sometimes act out of trauma or a trauma response, or they're trying to get a need met. People that have experienced harm can be traumatized, as well as bystanders that actually see it. So it gets into some neuroscience. The process is rooted in social psychology, as well as neuroscience. It's more focused on education and harm reduction as well as prevention. So just like I was speaking to the 360 process, it's about how do we set up an education program for this person to learn how to do better that has caused harm? How do we prevent harm from happening in the future? I love that song. It is an alternative to cancel culture. In the research that's coming out now about cancel culture and why people engage in it, it is because they aren't heard. People aren't listening. There's no other alternative. And most of the time, and in my experience with people that I've coached and provided accountability processes for, they don't want to engage in cancel culture. It does actually harm the people that have been victimized. And in the long run, even though upfront cancel culture does shine a light on things that happened or bring awareness to, once you get down the road, it leaves people even more isolated and realizing that they have also been canceled in other situations in other areas. So it's really a toxic thing for the community at large and the people that have experienced harm. And that's something that is currently being addressed more in scientific circles. So this isn't just restorative justice. Restorative justice is different in that there's an assumption of guilt. So transformative accountability looks at more perspective as well as intent and impact, because with restorative justice, it is rooted in the justice system, which I'm an abolitionist. I personally think the justice system is broken and I don't want to have anything to do with it. So I'm doing my best to make other alternatives accessible and help prevent harm and trauma. Restorative justice also puts the spotlight on the person that has done the harm and doesn't look at the rest of the systemic issues surrounding the harm or why the harm came about, and it doesn't look at addressing needs. It simply puts the focus on the perpetrator of the harm and puts the burden of restitution, restorative nature, and other responsibilities on the person that's caused harm. So this is definitely more of a 360 process. Next slide, please. So we're going to be doing a big education training program starting next Sunday. for 12 weeks. And we have 10 people that are going to be going through the transformative accountability training process. This is going to allow people to have the information, because it's important to set up as many people as possible that are trained in this process, understand how it works intimately, and then be able to implement it into the program. After the program, that 12-week program has concluded, we'll be creating a disappearing task force, and very much like the code of conduct, we'll be creating processes and policy, which will be transparent and available to anyone to see. So the people that will be going through the training program, it's very heavy on trauma informed, as well as addressing personal biases, community biases, and cultural biases. And then the process of how to take a report without causing harm, how to gather information, how to avoid gossip and maintain confidentiality within a community and still be transparent, and then how to also outwardly report what's happening within the confidentiality and comfort levels of the people that were involved in the primary incident. So we're going to be working on this whole big policy and procedure piece, and hope to have it done before next fall. So are there any questions specifically either about the code of conduct or the disappearing task force, transformative accountability? I'm happy to answer those. All right, y'all are welcome to put those in the chat, and I'm going to pass it along to the next person. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Rachel. Can I highlight myself? Tuck, would you? Thank you. You're the best. I also want to take this moment to just in general invite you all to ask questions about anything that we've covered so far. I know that was like a lot of info. So thanks for sitting with us through it all. So yeah, do you all have any questions or comments too about any of the CARE stuff, code of conduct, diversity, mission values, all of that stuff is fair game right now. And you can put it in the chat, or you can say it with your mouth, whatever you're comfortable with.
You mentioned the board and that could be more diverse, and wondering what efforts are being made there.
That's a good question, Ariana. Thank you. That's a question that, to be honest, I have a hard time knowing how to answer. Is my very unsatisfying answer, or response rather. One of the issues that I feel like we're running into is seeing a very white community and wanting leaders from that to join the board. And so there aren't many people, which this feels like a very non-answer and unsatisfying, and I don't like that. So I think that it's something that we all know, like internally, is something that we're explicitly trying to find, and then are keeping our ears to the ground to invite people explicitly who would be a good fit, different people of color who would be a good fit. Because in my experience, inviting people directly tends to be the best way to get people involved. So I would love better support and ideas if there are people that have stuff, or have people that would be interested, or if you would be interested. We are definitely open for it.
I would also add that we're set up to have an open nomination process. Anyone can submit an application to join the board. There's a link on the website, which can send you later. And those are all handled in the same way. When someone submits a board member application, that is sent to the board for comment. We immediately look at it in the next governance committee meeting. we do an interview, we go through all that. We try to do this in an impartial way, but as Arlene said, a lot of the issue right now is our community is not growing because of COVID. There's just not a lot of new people coming in. So it's really about how many people right here can I convince to join the board? And that's just a difficult problem because we're all quite busy. But I am really looking forward to fixing that, both by drawing more people in and also making opportunities for people to do that stuff. And a lot of that starts by joining committees and just getting familiar with the whole org and how that works. And I'm really excited to do more of that.
I actually have a quick question. Do you have an idea of like what the scope or time requirements might be for board member, or if there are positions other than board member that would still be a large part of contributing to like mission and goals? I just know that a lot of us have limited time, especially people who end up doing social justice work in addition to their normal paying jobs. And I'm kind of wondering how we could like make that barrier to entry a little bit easier.
So the first part, time requirements. Generally speaking, most board members are on at least one committee, and those would meet typically twice a month. So what I say is expect 10 to 20 hours per month of meetings and prep work and homework, whatever. But that really varies. Like I obviously spend more than 20 hours a month keeping this thing running, but other people don't, and that's fine. It's really up to everyone's specific place in life and what time they have, what they want to grow in, and so on. As for other opportunities, we're forming DTFs. We're having a program committee. There's lots of stuff that you'll hear about later that we're looking forward to, and a lot of those anyone can jump in and help. And we'll talk more about how that looks, but this organization is very inclusive. Anyone can pop into a committee meeting and spread their knowledge or ask questions or whatever. And we try as much as possible to make that accessible without sharing every tedious meeting on Facebook, because that's kind of just going to bore people. So that's stuff is on the website, and we're going to talk more about what some of those specific things are. So hopefully you find some that are interesting to you.
Yeah, that was great, BJ. Thank you. Yeah, and just to reiterate that there's the time commitment for being involved, if you want to volunteer with CFAC, is the time commitment that you have to offer. Everyone who has been in a meeting with me knows that the first thing I say to everyone who's in a meeting is, I really want you to set healthy boundaries for yourself. Sorry, I'm wearing a clown nose on my thumb. I really want y'all to set healthy boundaries for yourself, because this organization can't be sustainable if people are giving more than they're actually capable of giving. So if we really want this to be something that can live forever, which fingers crossed it will be, then we have to be making sure that it's sustainable financially, emotionally, and really like in all of the ways. So yeah, we're going to be going through there. Like BJ said, there will be a bunch more of kind of like the other stuff. This has been kind of more like the internal governance kind of side of things. And we're going to transition a little bit more to like programs and stuff like that, which there's all kinds of fun ways to get involved that don't require, you know, a 10-hour a week commitment or something like that, because I know that's a lot. Other questions? This is great. Okay.
I have one more.
Yeah.
This one is about that the CARE program and training. And was wondering if there will be opportunities or if there is a way for people outside of that core initial group to get that training.
That is a great question. That I might let Rachel respond to some also. We're trying to keep this initial cohort small, because Rachel is volunteering her time and this is what she does for a living. And we're very, very grateful to have that labor from her. So that was her boundary that we wanted to respect. I will say there is like 1 or 2 spots left, like hyper limited, But if someone in here is interested in being part of that, there is still room. So if you send me a message either here, like through the Zoom chat, or you can send one on Facebook or whatever, then let me know and we can talk about that. And then in general, the plan is to include more of that kind of presentation and classes at things like Flow Shop. I really want this to just be part of our culture, and that it's just a normal thing for us to talk about these kinds of issues and talk about consent and how to deal with harm within community, because I think that it's so needed. You know, we're not the only community that struggles with this kind of stuff. Rachel, I don't know if you have anything that you want to add to that.
I do. So I am building my consulting and coaching business, and my primary is I love doing this work. I love doing consent work. I love doing accountability work. And my goal is once I have a year left in school. So once I'm done with that, the trainings are going to be offered quite a bit more. The intensive I'll probably present that. I also have trained other people within Consent Academy. So they try and do a training about once a year. They have their own spin on it, the people that teach it for Consent Academy. Sometimes I dip in and work with them on that. However, I am working on a book. So that is going to be hopefully coming out in the next year and a half. So there are opportunities to learn more about this. This is an extremely new process. It has just been recently, I will be very honest, it's been recently in the past 2 to 3 years that people have stopped having a visceral reaction to the concept of a 360-degree accountability process. So it has been a long road, and I finally feel like society and culture, people that are making changes and being disruptors in the current paradigm, are ready for it. So I'm doing a big push to make sure that this is more accessible to people. And I will also be offering like shorter trainings, not the big, huge intensive. The big, huge intensive that's structured as 12 weeks right now is specifically for people. It's kind of like a train the trainer sort of thing. So that's the intensive where people have a good opportunity to really dig in and be able to help spread this concept within organizations and speak about it confidently. So there will be smaller trainings that are like, 2 hours for community participants that just like, hey, what is this thing? I don't really understand it. I want a little bit more in depth. And then there'll be training specifically for people that want to like work on committees for the process, or just specifically to be able to take a report. So it's coming. It's coming. Does that help answer your question?
Yep, that was perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Isn't that awesome? Oh my God. Okay. I don't know. I have the immense pleasure of teaching Rachel hula hoop twice a week since this summer. It's the best. And we just talk about this stuff all the time while we hula hoop, and it's the most fun thing. Other questions about stuff before we take a little bio break, give people a chance to get up and wiggle your body and get some water refills.
I believe Richard asked in the chat about the geographic region. And I just wanted to comment on that. Right now, it's in Seattle because that's where all the volunteers are showing up and doing things. But if someone wanted to run a spin jam in Bellevue, that would make me really happy, and we'd love to make it happen. So it's more about where are the people who are running the things, and I want to increase that. I don't want to run every event. I don't want to run events in Tacoma and in Everett, but I would love for other people to do that, and I would love to support them with this org. So that's something we're looking at, how to build and what the process is and so on. But since we're kind of all virtual, it's kind of a later problem right now.
Yeah, agreed.
Now we're everywhere, so yeah.
It's the best. Yeah. We do want to, because that's the thing too. We just want to like support people that exist. When CFAC adopted, okay, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to put this clown nose in my mouth and have y'all go for a bio break. Let's get back at 12:15 and we'll get started talking about fire jams and programs and all that fun stuff. Okay, bye. my gosh, Roxy, that was perfect. Your timing, that was lovely. I'm so happy you're practicing ukulele. Such a sweet little instrument. Okay. I love you, Zach. Cool. Are people back? Are y'all, did you return? Did you leave? I don't know if you even left. Zach found weird stuff.
Oh, I just got outside of the meeting.
Richard got kicked out of the meeting. Probably for poor behavior.
That's what you get, Richard.
I'm still here. Can't stop me. I will not be silenced.
Oh my God. Okay, cool. It sounds like people are still here. So let's, okay, great. Let's bring up Mr. Desert to talk about everyone's favorite topic.
Hello. Ooh, I got spotlighted even. Ooh, I feel the power. All right, so let's talk about the fire committee. So there were questions earlier, how do I get involved if I want to be a board? You're going to find all of those answers as we move forward. Fire committee is one possibility. Our committees are effectively the action arms of the direction of the board. So the fire committee was founded about, 4 months ago, and its purpose is to advocate for fire performance art in the city. And initially we set out a scope of work to establish a fire jam similar to what Spinner was, right? So in order to do that, we have some hurdles. So we created a roadmap. And just because I'm a little nervous about taking over the screen share, I'm going to read off some of the information that we put down, some of the top points. I could quite literally talk about fire art, fire safety for hours, and I've been limited. Arlene's got her finger on the button over there. So let me just talk about some real quick highlights from the roadmap. In order to get a legitimate fire jam, the difference between what we want to do and what Spinner was being permitted by the city for both the fire department and, when necessary, the parks department, so that we are no longer concerned about being shut down. So in order to do that, we first had to understand the fire code, and we've scoured the fire code. Some of us had a lot of background already in the fire code. We also needed to establish some basic fire training, some safety postures for anybody who wants to come out to a fire jam that CFAC is hosting. And we had to find contacts within the city. Who do we talk to about changing some of the code? Who do we talk to about hosting the kind of event that we want to host? How can we get insurance? Insurance is always a big challenge, right? Historically, I found that the two biggest obstacles that fire performers have in Seattle is, how am I insured and how do I actually get a permit? So we have set out the goals of actually getting fully legitimized by the city to host a fire jam. We are writing a fire safety course that will be hosted probably once a month on a donation sliding scale basis, something along those lines. And we'll review the basics like fire safety 101 for new beginner, new fire spinner / refresher. I'm a FAI certified safety instructor, so I can actually instruct the FAI safety course for their certificate, in addition to what CFAC is putting together. The other thing is putting together a fire permitting guide. The fire permitting process is really confusing to some people. and rightfully so. There's a lot of things and ins and outs and references to other codes that are hard to find. So we're working on creating a guide and a package that we can just hand to anybody who comes and says, CFAC, I want to perform fire. I want to give it a shot. We can give them the guide for free and just say, here's the people, here's the things you need to know. And we want to advocate for changes to the code. We have a smaller group within the fire committee who has done a really good analysis of the current code and suggested some prioritization on things to change. For example, no white gas is technically allowed in Seattle for fire performance. You're only allowed to use, they call out kerosene or upload. So obviously that doesn't work for most of us, right? So it's not really reasonable. So between what we as a committee have come up with, I think there are nine people currently in the committee, and we meet regularly. We were meeting every other week as a committee, and we've switched now to once a month because we've actually achieved so much. We have hit everything on the roadmap. We know where to get our insurance. Like, we have that now. We know who the contacts are. The only thing that's actually at this point stopping us from hosting a legitimate fire jam is COVID. Like, the city is just not issuing permits right now for gatherings. So that is looking to change. Maybe it will be readdressed in April. So in April, we'll look and see where the city is, as well as, you know, we've got to balance our desire to get together against the safety of everybody. So your involvement. I'm going to drop a couple of links real quick that I have written down right here for everybody. Here we go. This is my direct email address. I'll put this in chat. Those links you can get to me directly if you just have questions in general. If you're curious about the fire safety course, we have a sign-up form. Fill it out. Maybe you'll be on the very first. Maybe you'll be on the very first class that we actually pull together and teach. I'm hoping it's in the next 6 months. We'll see how that goes. And then the fire committee application. If you're interested in joining the committee, reach out to me with your questions or just fill out the application. Eventually, I'll send you to the application anyways. Everyone's got to fill out the application. It's the only way I can organize my mind correctly. So let's see. I think those are the high points. I would like to see if anybody has specific questions. It turns out that I could talk for hours and I may have pared it down further than I needed to. So are there questions? Nobody? Someone's got to give me one. Just one question. Come on.
I have a question,
Yeah.
which I know the answer to, but I'll ask anyway. Are we going to return to Gasworks or some other park, or what's the situation there?
So I was avoiding talking about this because I think I saw something on another slide for another committee, but Gasworks is incredibly popular and prominent and expensive to pull a parks permit for. It tends to draw a crowd. So while Gasworks is not excluded, it is certainly not the only location that's being considered. Underutilized parks in this city, especially places in underserved neighborhoods, are definitely on our map. We actually have a scouting group put together to look at different locations and provide feedback and take pictures. I live in Beacon Hill, and 5-minute walk from me, there's an amazing location away from homes with a stage and a big open field. Like, I want to move around the city. I want to bring the fire into the communities instead of demanding that everyone come to the fire, right? I think that's how we can increase that involvement and that diversity. I'm looking at that Arlene face right now, trying to figure out what it means. Yes, thank you. If you have a park in your neighborhood you think would be great, get in touch. Send some photos. Absolutely. Nobody's asking if you have to take our course to spin in our jam. I thought that would be one of the very first questions asked. Okay, well, I'm okay, cool. If nothing else is going to be asked.
So do you have to take the course to spin in the jams?
Yes, thank you. So, you know, I don't want to gate people on coming to our safety course. We just need to know that you know how to spin safely. So, you know, we're still trying to figure out how to make it work with the city, and a lot of what we're able to do will be driven by what the fire marshal demands of us. Because the way that we're going to do this is similar to Spinnern, but will have to be adjusted to fit within what they accept. So no, you won't have to take our course. You're welcome to take our course, but we will have to establish some basic safety parameters in order for you to spin at a CFAC event for both fire code compliance as well as our fire insurance compliance. Those are our basic requirements right now. And we actually have a document. I was going to show it, but it is something like 26 pages in the safety course now. So we're going to zip that up into a really short, these points, like don't come out wearing all synthetics, fluffy synthetics, please. I will probably not have a great feeling about that. But everyone will be required to sign up prior to the event. So
Richard,
that's how you'll know if you're going to be able to spin or not.
Richard had a
with
question
some
in chat, Desert.
exception. Come again?
Richard had a question in chat. Just didn't know if you were seeing that.
It flew by. Way to go. Richard, what's the approach of randos and don't tell me what to do approach to fire safety? The Seattle Fire Code says that the permit holder is responsible for anybody doing fire at their event, right? So at Gasworks, what would sometimes happen is somebody didn't want to wait in the queue, so they take their can someplace else, dip, and light themselves. At that point, you're not part of our event. And we have no control over you. I fully expect that we will have a conversation about safety, but I have no desire to police everybody in all instances. I want to help people be as safe as possible, but I cannot force someone to do something. You either are going to abide by our guidelines at our event or not be part of our event. Does that answer that question there, Richard? I'm going to go with yes, unless otherwise directed. Any other questions? He thumbed up. Great. All right. Hearing none. BJ, go for it.
Thanks for the update, Desert. I'm so excited about this. I want to go burn again, and I want to invite everyone, and I want to have new people burn, and like, we've got all we can do for now. Now just COVID needs to go away. But like, yeah, Desert was saying, we're looking for parks throughout the community to use that are not called Gasworks, and there are a lot. There are a lot of stages we could use. There are a lot of open fields. There are a lot of places where they probably pay us to come because no one ever uses the park. So We're looking into grants for that purpose, as well as like actual physical locations. If you know of any, please drop us a line. All right, next up is, where's next? Back to Arlene. Arlene's muted. There we go.
Hi, I'm back. Yeah, and I just want to reiterate just a small comment on the like code of conduct. It's kind of a wall of text. Which, you know, everything that we do, we like are going to go back and revisit. But just in talking about like that kind of stuff, the code of conduct is basically says, don't be a jerk to other people and be safe. And so I just like kind of want to put that out there. There's also a big section about consent in there, but yeah, like we really, you know, again, the whole purpose of all of this stuff, having the care program and all of these things, is that we just want this to be as safe a space as possible for people to come. And if people aren't interested in being in our space because they like have to follow a rule, then that's okay. And yeah, we're really not trying to like tell everyone who is a flow artist in Seattle what to do. That's like not of interest to me whatsoever. We just want to create spaces that people enjoy being in. So to that end, programs. This is like the stuff that people actually see about what we do, right? A lot of this stuff happens in meetings and is sort of behind the scenes, but our programs are what people will be familiar with or already are familiar with in a couple of these cases anyway. Just a small note about programs. We are all virtual until later. So hopefully people are able to get vaccinated sooner rather than later, because we really miss you all. But yeah, we also have really wanted to make sure that we're prioritizing, again, safety, right, and consent and autonomy and all of these things. So to that end, we have transitioned FlowShop and Spin Jam into virtual events. FlowShop has been virtual since March 24th, I think, was our very first virtual FlowShop. So we've been here since the beginning of quarantine, and it's grown into something actually really cool that I don't think it really could have done in person. So it's been sort of this weird silver lining. I really miss in-person events, obviously, but we're also able to have people who live in other cities or other states or other countries. We had, and Fiona's maybe in here, actually, I think I saw her come in earlier. We had an instructor from Australia this year at FlowShop, which is really, really fun to be able to do. Again, it also really helps with our ability to include a more diverse lineup of instructors and DJs, because it doesn't have to be people that are like just in our region and have the ability to like, you know, drive all of their everything to Dance Underground for our event. So it's been really cool. We've also been doing things like movie nights. So I've been streaming performances and other stuff like that. So if y'all haven't been on the FlowShop tip because you're like, oh, it's virtual, that's weird, I invite you to give it a try and maybe challenge that, because there's been a lot of really cool stuff that's happening. And we're meeting, we're still every Tuesday. I've been dead set on keeping us on the same day, because I think that matters. Although, you know, feedback always welcome if you all want events on different days or whatever. Agreed, Roxy, we'll just have a hollow projector for international instructors. I think that sounds perfect. To be honest, there will probably be, once we are back in person full time, we will probably still be hosting virtual events, because like, again, it's really, really cool to be able to get an instructor from the East Coast that there's no way we could ever afford to have fly out, be able to teach at our events. And I think that people are going to be more in a headspace of being used to virtual events and virtual workshops and stuff. So I don't really see any reason to not take advantage of that. FlowShop finished last year in the black. For those of you who aren't accountants, that means that we had more money than we spent. That's hard, and I'm really proud of us. And again, that was also with paying every single DJ and instructor that comes into our space. So really, really appreciate the community support there. And it's currently, besides community donations or just like personal donations, is our primary and maybe only source of revenue for the organization right now. So just so you all know, that's like what happens with money behind the scenes, whether that's for Flow Shop or Spin Jam. That stuff goes to paying instructors first, and then after that goes into the general fund for the nonprofit as a whole. Spin Jam took a break for quarantine at first, but has been back for the last few months, I guess. And they have settled on, for right now, they're doing every other Saturday. It's still from 3 to 5. Audijon's, what do you call that? Legacy. I don't know if y'all know Audijon, who is an old hat in the flow arts community here, who now lives in Berlin. But he's the one that started Spin Jam on Saturday from 3 to 5 because he thought it was so important that the event stayed on the same day, same time, same place, so that it made it easy for people who weren't super connected with the community to be able to find it. So that's why that's always stayed there. And they're also, Corey and Russell have been hosting that. And they're talking about also adding more instructors and DJs and things like that to Spin Jam as well. Again, just because especially with the virtual format, it's easy to do and is fun. I say this all the time, but I say it because I mean it. If there's something that you want to see happen at Flow Shop, let us know. The number one way to get your prop or your favorite instructor or your favorite DJ or whatever in our space is to just tell me or tell someone else, and we can make it happen. That's how it works. So make your voice known if there's stuff that you want to see or do. Would you move to the next slide, please, BJ? Okay, now this is though where I'm super thrilled about where we're going next. So, you know, Flow Shop and Spin Jam, those are great. I think of those as sort of our Flow Me programs because they're kind of for people who are already in the community or like have a friend in the community or like they kind of already know us to some extent. But what we can do now with this nonprofit organization, because we have so much more infrastructure and resources and we look so much more responsible, is we can teach kids. We can teach older adults. We can do more community programming and get this art form that, again, has been so instrumental and helpful in all of our personal development in ways that are really meaningful to more people, which is thrilling. So the program committee, I'm the chair of that committee. If you're interested in joining, we meet every other Wednesday at 8, and we had a meeting this Wednesday. So the next one will be March 3rd. Again, you can @ me however you want. I'm going to put my email in the chat. So yeah, if you want to be involved with that, let us know. We're currently working on a pilot program that's going to be focusing on kids that are middle school aged, 11 to 14. And we're developing it to be about a 6-week program that will teach a combination of juggling and poi, because those feel like kind of the most accessible props to get your hands on if you don't already have props of your own. And okay, great. I love you all in the chat saying these things. Yeah, we're just like super thrilled. We're again still in the development phases of that. I think the program committee has met twice so far, so it's super fresh. So if you get in now, you're like on the ground floor, which is awesome. As I mentioned, for a future, we're really wanting to do programs that teach older adults. In my fantasy brain, having an event where we can have kids and older adults learning in the same space would be really, really cool. We know that there's all kinds of benefits for both age groups in learning flow arts and also in working together and playing together. Having that kind of intergenerational interaction has a lot of positive benefits for all kinds of stuff. And we also are thinking about things like beginner workshop series. So, you know, supporting people who want to have like a 6-week hoop intensive that they teach. You know, that can be the kind of thing that we can help promote or advertise for, potentially help fund. So, you know, that's something to think about if that's something any of you all are interested in. You can definitely come at us with a proposal of whatever. Again, we want your feedback, we want your involvement. So if there's stuff that you want to see happen in the Seattle community and you have the interest in putting in time on that, let's work on it together, like for real. Let us know. I'm also really excited about the concept of doing corporate education or employee enrichment programs, which, like, I know it doesn't maybe sound like teaching very wealthy people at Amazon is like the same as this other stuff that we're talking about. But part of the reason, yes, Etheria, is that, again, you know, we're always trying to kind of Robin Hood our programs here so that they are both accessible and funded. And, you know, a place like Amazon is an organization that can afford to pay a lot more, and that can help to funnel that money to the other causes that we want to give away for free or offer on a sliding scale or what have you. So it's all kind of part of the like overall revenue plan for the organization. And other things that like we have kind of kicked around ideas of would be like the Bellingham Circus Guild, which is a circus org up north. They have a membership model, for example, where you can like pay to be a guild member. And so if someone, for example, reaches out with a request for a performer, or they want someone to come teach at their event or whatever, we have a list of people that we like recommend. And there's like ways that they have that set up. So these are all just like things that could happen. You know, again, we're only in our first year, and our first year was marked by not being allowed to like actually have any in-person events. So we're still working on growing that stuff. But as you can tell, I'm very excited about this department. So yeah, come play with us. I wanted to take, if there are any moments here or any feedback or questions at this point about program stuff, or what you all think about that.
Can we start on any of these programs virtually?
Some.
Before, like, everything is post-COVID. If anything is post-COVID.
Oh my gosh, Roxy, don't say that. Yeah. And the current, the pilot program that we're currently developing, we are planning to offer as a virtual program. We're kind of wondering, the kind of consensus in the group was that older adults might be less inclined toward a digital format for things, but I also don't necessarily want to like deny people that if that's not the case. So yeah, definitely could be offered virtually. Just need to hook up with the organizations that are already doing that stuff and have the infrastructure, have some infrastructure that we can kind of plug ourselves into. Any other questions?
I don't have a question, but just something I wanted to add for the pilot programs in a larger setting is we're currently seeking ideas for organizations for us to offer these programs at. So if there is an organization that you know kind of has good community outreach and is in an area that you think would be well fitting to offer these programs, reach out to us, because we are in the kind of research phase of that step right now and looking for any suggestions that anyone might have on that. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you, Zoe. That's a great point. I appreciate that. Cool. Okay. So let's go to our next slide. We're kind of in the home stretch, y'all. We've got our like short slides, our remaining ones. This looks like a BJ slide.
It is. I'm going to talk a little bit about governance. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm the chair of the board, so governance is my problem. I'm chair of the governance committee, and the governance committee is sort of like the committee to rule the committees. That's where we sort of come up with sort of like the game plan of how this stuff works. So governance committee was the first committee to start meeting regularly last February or before, I don't even know. And in the past year, we've done a ton of projects that are mainly focused on building up the org's capacity to do stuff. So there's a list here, like we did the startup, that was a lot. We came up with bylaws. I didn't know anything about bylaws before that. Mission, vision, and values, we workshop that a lot. We came up with a conflict of interest form, insurance, liability, town hall, et cetera, et cetera. All the like grown-upping things that are kind of maybe boring for some people, like that's what the governance committee does. But I'm okay with that. So town hall is another thing that was sort of started by governance committee. I really wanted to share everything that's going on with everyone, so we put that together. Another recent thing has been hiring an executive director. So a nonprofit's kind of like a car. If you don't have any wheels, you're not paying anyone to go. Like nothing's gonna really happen. And I'm really excited to announce just this week, Arlene has moved on to be executive director, not like a board member. And that means Arlene is part-time, paid to run this stuff and make the magic happen. And I'm just so happy that we're finally to this point where we're compensating people for their work. Arlene does a lot of work to make all this work. I don't know if you know that, but Arlene has the hustle. So I'm super excited that we were able to do that. And, you know, hiring someone's a lot of work too. So that's something that this committee is tasked with. So other things going on. A lot of these things have moved on to other committees or to DTFs. So for example, code of conduct, we sort of did a poor first draft, and that was enough to get people really interested in making a good one. And then we went and had a DTF, and then they did the thing. That's how a lot of this works. We sort of identify what's next and find the people to do it. So one of the outcomes of this town hall is a list of questions and ideas people have. And the reason we need that is we kind of need to figure out what is the multi-year plan here for this org. What are we going to do? How are we going to go about it? A lot of people have told me, BJ, I really want like a flow arts dojo. I want a space. How does that work? That's the sort of thing you have to think about in a strategic plan. Like if we wanted space, how many years will that take? What do you have to do? What kind of money do you have to raise? How much programming do you have to offer? Stuff like that. So that's an example of the sort of thing we're going to look at in the strategic planning process. And this will be another disappearing task force. So if you're interested in that sort of longer term planning and research, I would love to have you involved. This thing will probably not start until March at the earliest. So I'll be sending some communications about that. But I'm super excited to start that. And we're going to have Rebecca Lane, who helped us facilitate the first board meeting and some anti-racist work. She's going to come in and help facilitate the strategic planning. Rebecca has been involved in dozens of nonprofits. She's worked in nonprofits for 30 years. She's been an executive director so many times. So I'm really excited to have her come in and tell us how to do these things that we want and don't know how to do. That's sort of where we are with the long-term planning. And obviously with COVID, like we don't really know the real timeline for these things, but I do think it is important to look beyond the next month or two and figure out longer term, what is the plan? So the first initial plan was like start up, get people involved, and eventually like have a director. We're there. So now we need to make a new plan for the next few years and start doing the thing. So that's all about governance. And right now governance meets every 2 weeks or so. And you know, it's a pretty open committee. If you're interested in these topics, I encourage you to come. And if you're not, you don't have to. You know, I wouldn't force that on anyone. But I find this stuff pretty interesting. Also, governance is in charge of board recruitment. So as I mentioned before, if someone applies to be a board member, governance is the committee that will go through and do the interview process and all that. I think that about covers all I need to say about governance. That's a cool hand wave. So next up, I'm gonna hand off to Zach, who's gonna talk about finance. I love this picture. Great.
Yeah, so the finance committee, as the I'm the chair of the finance committee and the board treasurer. And so the finance committee is kind of like POI, but more spreadsheets. But really, it's just more spreadsheets and not a whole lot to do with actual spinning things. But that's really important because money is how we keep the wheels on the cart, or how we, keep everything moving forward, and how we maintain our existence as an entity. So our job is pretty much to be the ones who keep an eye on money coming in, money going out, make sure that there's a space for transparency in that happening, so all the funding is getting used appropriately. And we help the other committees all do more themselves by kind of being the place where at some point every program, everything that happens in CFAC is going to flow through the finance committee. And so one of the things I hope to have and try and maintain currently in the committee is having people from all the other committees also having representatives in the finance committee, so that we stay abreast of what's going on from a monetary standpoint, and we can make sure that everything is getting what it needs. And so if you're interested in the finance committee, what I can say is getting involved with this kind of portion of an organization ends up also being kind of a resume builder. You can talk to me some other time about how being involved in the org part of finance of Flow Arts organizations has built my career in my professional life as well. So if you're interested in the finance committee, I'm just going to drop my email into the chat as well, and you can reach out to me and join the finance committee and probably some other committees, I would hope. We meet once a month, so our time commitment is kind of low. And that's what I got.
All right, thanks, Zach. So we have 2 more committees to visit, development and marketing. So I'm going to hand it off to Kat to talk about development. What is development? That's kind of vague. Oh wait, marketing. There we
You
go.
lied.
Let's do development first, because that's what's on my agenda.
Okay, that works.
Hey, so the development committee is in charge of fundraising. The committee is new and is going to be focused on applying for grants and recruiting new donors. We're also using our Salesforce database to track donations. We're accepting new committee members, and as Zach said about the finance committee, this is a great resume builder, because if you want to get into nonprofit work, fundraising is a key part of that, along with finance. So they're closely related. Our fundraising efforts are key to supporting all the new and existing programs CFAC is hosting, and to employing our executive director. We raised over $5,000 for our end of year giving campaign in 2020. Thank you to everyone that donated. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And our fundraising goal is about $17,000 for donations in all of 2021. So a very ambitious goal, and we need all the help we can get. There are a few key dates when we'll be asking for donations. So May 4th to 5th is Give Big / Washington Gives, which is a day of giving in our state that we'll be promoting. And then Giving Tuesday is November 30th. And of course, you can donate anytime on our website. And I will put my email in the chat in case you want to get involved. Thanks.
Thanks, Kat. And going backwards to go forwards, marketing. Oh, wrong way. Here we go.
Marketing. Awesome. I don't think I can spotlight myself for some reason. But so marketing. is important. This is one of the things that we spend honestly a lot of our time doing, no matter how cool our programs are. If people don't know about them, they won't come. So this is a massive department that I am currently the committee chair of. And I am not a marketing expert. We recently are going to be teaming up with actual marketing expert, Natalie Kavork, who's here in the chat today. So thank you, Natalie. We're so excited to have that support. But a few of the things that we have going on, we do have a blog that's up on the website, which is pretty cool. It's been right now fairly sparsely populated with just some like organizational updates and stuff like that, because it is kind of the best, it's hard to, there's so much that goes on internally, and communicating all of that with the community is challenging because Facebook is kind of not ideal for a number of reasons, and people are moving away from Facebook. Obviously TikTok, we can't put like documents on and stuff like that. So we do have a website. Marketing is our only hope. It's so true. So the best place to find like specific information is seattleflowarts.org. Our blog is on there, all of the board members, all of our contact information is on there. Yeah, definitely bookmark that. And it has a calendar so you can know when all of our fun events are. And if y'all are interested in having, I'm going to put that thought back in my brain. Never mind. So things we're looking for the blog are just more contributors. If there's something that you want to write, if there's an artist that you want to highlight, there's all kinds of fun opportunities for like what we can do with that space. Really, like the sky is the limit, and we want to open that up to as many people as possible to contribute to that space so that it can, again, just like be more diverse and have more voices, as opposed to just like myself and BJ making, organizational updates all the time. So if that's something that you're interested in, let me know. We're on social media. You all already know that. That's probably how you figured out that we exist and how you ended up here. You can follow Seattle Flow Arts Collective on Facebook. Flow Shop is also on Facebook and on Instagram. So give us the follows there. This is a really big beast of a lot of work. As the last couple people have mentioned, this is another area where I really, really would encourage people, if you're thinking about being involved in marketing or social media marketing or anything like that in general, this is a really great way to get something on your resume and have actual experience so that you can like build that career going forward and also contribute to something really cool. If you're not into marketing, but you want to support us in ways that don't require you to have money, or maybe in addition to donating, you can like and comment and share our posts. And I know that maybe doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but if more people are interacting with the things that we put on social media, Facebook thinks that what we're putting on social media is more important, and it shows it to more people. And having social media be our primary means of marketing is kind of a challenge because it's a free service and Facebook wants all the money for themselves. So that's the way y'all can help. Physical marketing is something that's coming up in the future. I don't know if there are plans to reveal anything today, but there are like cool signs that have happened. We have business cards now. Ariana has helped with a lot of that stuff. So thank you for making freaking beautiful business cards. Oh my gosh. And swag. I don't know how you pronounce that. Is it swag or swag? Whatever. We have pins. Look how beautiful this pin is. I love them. This is our Flow Shop design. Yeah. Okay. I think it's okay. You all are giving me different answers about swag.
Funny answer.
Yeah, we do have swag you can buy. We have stickers, we have pins. These are also a cool way to help support the organization financially, and also just like have this beautiful logo on your bag. You'll notice it doesn't say Flow Shop anywhere, so it's just like Flow Me approved. And if there's other stuff that you all, sorry, the Ellen swag is silent. Thank you. You could, if you, sorry, you guys in the chat are really cracking me up right now. You can get access to these. Currently, the best way is to just send me a message. We don't have like a great thing set up to like advertise this stuff right now. Again, there's like a billion things. It's all in the works. But you can let me know, and they're $10 a pin plus shipping, and they're really cool. And Cassandra, put that recommendation in that chat box. I agree that our stuff is great quality, because I don't believe in selling you all crappy wares, because I don't want you to throw stuff away. No waste. The last thing about marketing is our newsletter. Our newsletter is like the best way to, one of the other best ways to just like keep up with what we're up to and what's going on here. Really, really would encourage you all to sign up for the newsletter, which you can do from our website. Just at the bottom of any page, you can put in your information and register for that. So that was longer than I wanted to talk about marketing, but it's the end of the meeting and my brain is kind of falling out my nose is holes. And yeah, but get at us if you want to help with that, because there's plenty to do. And we're meeting currently about once a month for that one on Thursday evening.
I also want to mention we need people to help with the website. So if you know CSS, HTML, or those things, please get in touch with me, because we need help to make it even better. Also,
yeah.
A great resume builder, because trust me.
Yeah, it turns out the website is like, you don't just have to do it one time and then everything is perfect forever. It's like constant update. Ooh, Zoe going through that training. I love it. Okay, cool. Next slide, please. Yeah, these are ways you can get involved. So yeah, just to reiterate again, like the sky is the limit. If you want to see something happen in our community in Seattle, we said Puget Sound specifically. So like that is from Bellingham all the way down to Olympia. If there's stuff that you want to contribute, promote, let us know. We want to co-create things with you. That's the whole point of all of this stuff. Join a committee, right? You learned about all the things we're up to. We want you in our space. Come sit on Zoom calls with us, and eventually, well, actually, I think the Zoom calls are really convenient for meetings, but again, I'm going to reiterate, and if someone has a link handy to drop in the chat, encourage you all to fill out our feedback form. And we will love you forever. I want to say it here, even though it says it on the form too. All of the questions on there are optional. There isn't anything that's required for you to respond to. The top section is going to be asking questions about how we did here and giving you the opportunity to like ask more questions or give comments or ideas about other areas. And then the section at the bottom is collecting just a little bit of demographic information. And that just helps us to, if we have that information, that helps us when we're doing things like applying for grants and stuff like that. So that's why we have that on there. But again, all of the responses are optional. Our website, seattleflowarts.org. Best way to get in touch with us, if you don't know who the heck you're supposed to email or what you're supposed to ask, hello@seattleflowarts.org is our general inbox. And you can also message us on Facebook, works as well. Oh yeah, and then again, remember, Spin Jam is in 2 hours. Spin Jam's at 3. So yeah, don't forget, come back around, make shapes. But this is the next slide is just an image and a thank you. Thank you. For real, everyone, for being here. Really, really appreciate your time so much. I know it's been 2 hours of you all being talked to. So I do want to give a last opportunity. First of all, if any of the other board members or presenters have anything that they want to add, let's start with that, and then we can open it up for general comments.
Yeah, the color of all of your noses has just been such a joy to follow.
It's not even just the color, it's that they've been slowly accumulating.
I have a problem. It's not a problem. Do y'all know about justclownnoses.com? It's justclownnoses.com.
We do now.
Recommend.
Wait, just clownnoses.com?
Yes.
Okay, so clownnoses.com.
Yeah, other questions? Yeah, that's great. Yeah, put it up on. All of these colors are from justclownnoses.com. Yeah, other questions or comments from you all? Look there, you all of your faces. Anything else? Oh wow, everyone's got clown noses. We got tiny hearts. The clown nose tiny heart isn't as good. None of these are hearts. No other questions? Okay. That's chill. Then I guess that's it. I guess, oh right, no, Cassandra has a question. You could ask it, go for it.
Okay, hi. Sorry I'm late. Maybe you covered this. If I want to contribute, support, what are the ways that you would like to encourage people outside of the area that you guys have kind of mapped out for your programming? How can people who live outside of that area participate in what you guys are doing and support your mission? Speaking on behalf of the entire state of Florida.
Go for it, BJ.
Oh, what was I going to say?
I don't, I'm unmuted.
So until COVID's over, you can actually attend most of our programming. So I just want to point that out, and maybe beyond too. Obviously, you can donate. That's kind of like multi-purpose. If you want to do something more specific, there are a lot of opportunities just in the area of making connections. There's a lot of organizers of flow arts scattered across the world. And I would love for them to talk more. And they have started talking more at events like Shape Summit and stuff like that. And I want more stuff to be crossing over. For example, we had Dr. Kate come to Flow Shop and tell us about what she's been doing with her life. And it's really, really, really impressive. And, you know, I would love to partner with her and do the thing. So just bringing stuff to our attention even is like a super big help at this point, because we are doing a lot of program development type of stuff. Another way you can support is you can donate stuff like props or fuel or whatever you like. We don't really have a system right now for accepting stuff like that, but I do think once we're back to in person, there'll be more of a thing where we have abandoned props. If you don't want your prop anymore, we can give it to someone new, and that'd be great. Or if you build props, you can hand them out too. That's all sort of TBD until we know what the programs actually are. So those are the main things I can think of right now, is mainly helping us with the program development and research parts. And the more people hear about what we're doing and the purpose of the org and stuff, the more ideas we get. Like the incoming volume has just gone up and up and up, and that's really great. That means people are excited and engaged, and I think that's really the best contribution we can do right now. And you don't need to be in Seattle, you just need to have cool ideas to share.
Awesome, thank you.
And you're really good at that, by the way, so keep doing it.
Yes, thank you, Cassandra, for your support. Everyone support FlowFests if you're not already. Dylan, what's your question? or comment? You're still on mute. Yeah.
Oh, technology. Hi, I'm Dylan. I'm out in Arizona. The the past month, I've been meeting with a bunch of different people all over the world who have played different parts in being a united front for this type of community. I'm gonna be opening a space here in Flagstaff, Arizona, that's very similar to what you all are doing. And so that's kind of why I want to be a part of this and help, because then I can also learn and I can take what I learned from you all um, and bring that forward, because as me and Arlene had gone into depth on, is um, it's not just one place that needs their art outlet. It's every place in the entire world could benefit from having it an outlet for whatever type of art it is. um, so the main thing I'm offering at this point is I am really big into fire safety, fire performance safety, crowd control, fuel depot, all of the things with prop manipulation and fire. I am also working on a fire safety document that I've been building over the past few years, and um, I've been talking to a lot of people. I was going to the other night complete the Flow Arts Institute safety course that they have, but I fell asleep. um, I've been watching those videos. Next week, I'm going to be headed down to Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm going to be hosting a fire safety meeting and going over that document. And I had invited Arlene. I'm going to try and set it up on Zoom. So if you would like to join, um, it's most likely going to be next Saturday, somewhere around 3 Mountain Standard Time. And I can leave my number in here, or you can reach out to Arlene, who already has my contact info. It's not perfect yet, but the more it's done, um, the better it's going to be. And yeah, I see no reason why we can't build an overall flow arts standard so that anywhere you go, it's just known that, oh, you don't step into the fire circle without communicating with somebody if they are anticipating being in there alone, like those there are standards for like across the globe, and then there are like region specific type things or group specific type things. I'm not going to go into it because obviously I'll start nerding out hard, but just let Arlene know, and I'll leave my contact info in the chat, and you can reach out whenever. And Desert Black, I'd love to nerd out with you. So that's all I got.
Thanks, Dylan. I'm so glad you're here. Like, half the point of doing this online is so people outside of Seattle can come see what we do. This is really inspired by Chicago Full Moon Jam, because they did a town hall last spring or winter, and I was like, oh, we need to do that because we need to know what's going on. So that's great. I also just want to say that we're intentionally building this org to be something that other people can take and copy and do themselves. So everything from the code of conduct to fire safety, everything like that, we want people to go do it too. And it takes more work to make it reusable and all that, and I'm totally up for it. So I hope we're a good resource for you and others as well. And let us know how to be that, because we want to help everyone. Who's next? Etheria?
So I just kind of wanted to throw out there, you know, we do have some other local groups, right? We've got Olympia, we've got Bellingham, and I could, you know, say there's probably even more little pockets of groups that have spun together over the years. If they wanted to reach out and say, be like, hi, I'm Olympia Fire Jam, how do we become maybe affiliated with CFAC? So again, back to even what Dylan was saying, similar information, as well as just having them have support that they may not have already. So how could someone like that reach out? And I apologize, my dog is singing to the fire engine.
Yeah, hello@seattleflowarts.org, or you can email Desert directly. As for like specifically what happens, it really just depends on the circumstance. And we've written out some guidelines for like, when would it make sense for us to like actually host an event versus market it or whatever. And for fire, like doubly so, because now you have insurance permits and the whole 9 yards. So like a lot of it could just be like, hey, here's the permit guide. This is how we had to go develop the process with the city and what we did. And like just having that is a huge, huge, huge amount of work you don't have to do again. So get in touch. Let us know what resources are needed or you don't have or you want. And we're also working to make these things more publicly accessible. I asked for people to help on the website because that's sort of the blocker right now to putting more reusable info out there. And having like an actual resources page and stuff like that is definitely something I want to do soon. Are there any more questions? Multiple pages, people. Oh my gosh, Desert, what happened to you?
Any others? Can we take a moment to shout out Livy? Olivia Ali here is the owner of Livy Joy Hoops, best hula hoops on the planet, and she's our first corporate sponsor. How cool is that? So a portion of her proceeds get donated to CFAC, and we really, really appreciate what she does in supporting CFAC, but to be honest, in what Livy does for supporting such a big community of people. If you don't know this woman, I'm sorry, and I hope you can fix it. Is there anything you want to say, Livy?
I just want to say thank you to everyone involved in this committee and the amount of work and dedication that you put in this past year. You know, a lot of us have kind of like, you know, gone through our own stuff this year, but you guys have been making this magic happen kind of, you know, without us really noticing on our day-to-day lives. But I just want to let everybody know that I appreciate you so much, and our whole community will, you know, they'll see what you're doing and they'll feel the same way. I'm confident of that.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
Same. I'm not crying, you're crying.
Oh. Girl.
Right. We are so lucky, y'all. We have so many really wonderful, great people in this community, and that's like nationally, but I'm gonna brag, like our Pacific Northwest people are really, really killing it. So I'm super proud to be part of this, right? Yeah.
Yay us. Yay us.
Go team.